Kral Space. I'm Kim Kral. I am reporting to you not live from my closet. Hi, guys. Hi. I'm a little breathy today. I think I'm just going to be a little breathy for a while. I have no idea where I got reporting to you not live from. I mean, I know when I first started Crawl Space, I still had a live radio show on Dash, but there is no way we said that because Ken, my partner, there was no way on this planet he would have allowed me to say reporting to you not live from Dash. He was a little bit more serious than I am. And I don't think I was like, I'm going to do what I want on my show and I'm going to say this dumb thing. I don't know, but now I say it and I feel like I have to say it. If I don't say it, it's not, did we even start a crawl space? If I didn't say I was reporting to you not live. I'm a little overwhelmed. I think I will be for a little bit. I have decided to, I think I've told you guys this, I've decided to take a direction that I've never done before, which is just hustle my ass off and get as many jobs as I can. And instead of working like a regular bartending bar job. And it's been 3 weeks and it's been pretty steady. It's finding balance, I think, is going to be the tough part. And 3 weeks of it, like 3 weeks going after it, one of the 3 weeks, so it's technically two, because Henry was out of commission last week. He is home. He is home. Oh God, you guys, I love this cat so much. Like it's like sometimes I'm like, is it crazy how much I love this cat? I don't think it is. And if it is crazy, I'm fine with being crazy. He had really bad diarrhea for the first few days. Like really bad diarrhea, like where I could hear him poop. Is that a thing? I've never heard him like we were pooping once at the same time. Is this the poop scoop? I had somebody I posted a bathroom selfie. I lost like 30 followers when I did that. If you go to my Instagram, KYMKRAL, I lost like 30 followers over it. But someone told me they're like, you can put this on your dating profile, but like maybe hold off telling them how much you love poop. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. I think I'm pretty close to deleting the apps again. It's just I'm too busy. I'm just too busy. There's one guy that I gave my number to, and he texted me like 3 days ago, and I'm like, I don't have time to sit here and like have like a text conversation, and I don't have time in the next like 5 days to meet you for a drink. But I don't know. So the whole day, but he was like, as much as you, oh yeah. So I was pooping. Henry and I were pooping at the same time. I'm out of poop scoops. So here's your poop scoop. Send me more poop stories. If you have already sent me a poop story and you're like, man, I have another one, send me another one. Like there's no rules. This is NAM. I don't know what that means, but world's ending. So, let's just ride it out and have a good time. So that's for you, Roger, too. Roger, where are your poop scoop stories? I know you've pooped your pants more than you have told me. You son of a bitch. I'm just kidding. But I know that you've have more. You and I, that's like, I don't know. Maybe that's not the one thing we bond on. I was like, that's the one thing that's made us friends. That's not even remotely true. But yeah, so Henry and I were pooping at the same time the other day, which was when, the day he came home, which was a cool bonding moment in my eyes, right? This is your poop scoop. Poop scoop is Henry's poop. And so we're pooping, and all of a sudden I heard this like loud fart. And I was like, that's not me. But I was like, do cats fart? And then I got done pooping, and he was just, oh, little buddy. They said that it was going to be a couple of days of just like weird behavior. And he's just, yeah, there was a few days where he wasn't like begging me for food. Like normally the second his bowl is empty, he is acting like I will never feed him again. And then when he does get to eat, he eats like he's on fire. And that's the hyperthyroidism, that his thyroid is so hyperactive, hence the name, that it does feel like his metabolism so fast that it does feel like he's not eating enough, right? So now he's like, his appetite is kind of slowed. The other day, he sort of ran under the bed and hid from me. He's only done that to me once, and that was 2 weeks ago when we went back to the vet, and he's finally figured out what the carrier is. That means vet time, right? But other than that, he's never ever. And the other night, he like ran under the bed and like hid. So I don't know. The facility said it was going to be a couple of weeks of him being a little odd. He's still excreting radiation. extracting me. I don't know. So I had, 2 weeks. This is my third week of looking for jobs and hustling. And last week I took off, and it's going well, but I do need to find balance. I'm just a little overwhelmed. My text message count has gone up from, I woke up to like 25 text messages and now it's at 152. Not to brag. I'm not bragging. Actually, it kind of overwhelms me and it sort of stresses me out. I have a couple of friends who are going through some shit and I need to get there and text them. And also the Tinder guy is asking how Henry's doing. He seems really nice. I don't know, some dude from Chicago. He wants to talk on the phone. He owns a house in Topanga Canyon. He has 2 cats though. He said something about my cat, or I was like, oh, I'm just my cat's going into a thing, and I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm not going to really be able to talk for a week or so. And he's like, that's totally fine. He was really nice about it. And I was like, oh, I really appreciate you not making the obvious crazy cat lady jokes. Like, I'm not offended as a crazy cat lady. I'm offended as a comedian. It's tired and boring. Like, it's just do better. Like, if you're going to make fun of someone, do better. Not like an obvious crazy cat lady joke. And he goes, oh yeah, why would I make those jokes? I have 2 cats of my own. And I was like, oh, it's too many cats. And I know I have 2 cats, but then I have a tendency to like meet someone and then, future trip where you stay in the wreckage of the future and you imagine every scenario. Well, I had a bad childhood, those of you who've had bad childhoods, you do the same thing where you you check every exit. Oh my God, he looks so cute right now. But so I was like, if we work out, do I have to move to Topanga Canyon? 4 cats is too many. Is your other cats going to fall in line and know that Henry is the king? Are you going to fall in line and understand that Henry is our king? That's like one of the things I need to look for in a dude is he needs to know that Henry's the king. And if he looks at you like you're crazy, then you're like, I don't know, dude. So yeah, he had diarrhea, and now I have to scoop his litter and put it in the toilet and flush it. And it flushable litter is not as efficient as regular litter. It's like both of them go to the bathroom maybe 1.5 times and it's full and it smells and it's like, all right. And they don't cover it the way they do the other one. It's like, we have 1 more week of this. And my vet was like, I didn't do flushable litter. I don't care. But my apartment complex, the people who run my building, they're kind of cheap. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something in my toilet that won't accept this litter that literally every other toilet on the planet will. There's just they tried to they redid our porches I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And they asked us to turn off our air. And thank God it was cool enough. I'm going to take a sip of tea. And thank God it was cool enough to where we had the air on, but they were like, yeah, all the air conditioners and the entire building leak. And I was like, well, that's kind of a you problem because you've decided to buy really cheap air conditioners. So I don't know. So I don't remember why I was telling you all that. Oh yeah. So they're calling all of us and asking us how much water we're using. So they're just really cheap. And it's really, it's a rent control building in Hollywood. So I've talked to many people who live in rent control buildings in Los Angeles, and they're like, oh yeah, the landlords are always kind of sketchy and they're always cutting corners. It's constantly my friends just moved into a really nice complex where it's owned by a corporation, right? And so it's just he's like, every time we have any kind of problem, it's 20 minutes, someone professional comes and fixes it. When we have something up, the sketchiest people come in here. And I don't know, the next time I don't know, man, you want to be here because they're not sketchy, they'll steal something. But one guy hung out way too long and then came back alone and his pants were almost down. And it was just creepy as fuck, right? Don't think I'm blowing it off. It's just, when you're a lady person, you are used to this sort of behavior. So I guess that's why I'm being so casual about it. But yeah, he was in my apartment. His pants weren't down, but they were way too far around his hips and butt, right? For a grown man. And he was rubbing his tummy and he was like, so how are you? I'm like, get the fuck out of my apartment. What are you doing? And he was like, oh, and I was like, no, are you done? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, then you can go. Have a nice day. What are you doing, man? But they always have the sketchiest people. Yeah. So I'm a little overwhelmed, but in a good way. In a good way. I'm doing audience work here and there. And it's not glamorous by any stretch. Like it's not a glamorous thing. It's like you definitely will make more money at a bar job, but you definitely don't have it's like low stress, low key. I just go and watch Jay Leno perform for 6 hours on a game show. And then it's kind of cool because like in between shows, he'll come over and talk to the audience and like answer questions. I don't know. There's some people who don't agree with this. I guess years ago, there was some sketchy shit with the Tonight Show and all the other all the other nighttime hosts. I think I talked about this, where like he bumped Conan, and like there's people that are like fuck Jay Leno over that, and I'm like, well, it's show business. Like I know that's cliche, but it's not show friends. Like if it was between me and three other women to get a part and they were my friends, I wouldn't not work as hard as I could to get the part because they were my friends. And I would hope they would do the same. I think it's just people that aren't on that level talking about something they don't know very much about. And my buddy Whitney was telling me that actually back then, Conan had really low ratings. So NBC was like, yo, we want Jay Leno back. And Jay Leno was like, cool, I'll come back. And the funny thing is like it worked out for everybody involved. Conan's doing just fine. So it's just so funny, but that people are upset at that. But he's, you know, Jay Leno will come and talk to us and give us like talk about the business and give, you know, advice for those of us who are working towards becoming a Jay Leno. I don't want to be Jay Leno, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and one of the things he did say yesterday that I have taken to heart, that I've really implemented in my life the last like couple of years, especially, and I've really come a long way in my career because of it. He was like, a lot of people come to this town and they, you know, just party it up, and that's, and you know, and they age 10 years and they don't really accomplish much because like it's just a big party, and then you know 10 years passes and they're like, what happened? Oh, my little kitten is meowing. She's not a kitten anymore. She's about to be 4. But or she just turned 4. Oh, she's finally though. She's been like not cuddling with Henry. And she's been that way for like a month because every time Henry goes to the vet, she's like afraid of him for a while. And he's been going to the vet so much lately that she's actually smelling him. And oh my God, you guys. Okay. But yeah, he was just like, he's like, so many people. He goes, I just started treating it like a business. This is a business and you have to treat it like one. Like if you were running a business, would you go to work and just drink like 10 glasses of wine before you did? And I used to do that way, and I don't do that anymore. But so it's like really low key work. It's kind of long, but it's not, I have my nights free and I'm only doing it like a couple days a week. But I talked to this guy yesterday that was doing it with me. I talked to 2 people yesterday. Such a wild. You want to like learn. Oh my God! And they're cleaning each other, and now they're cuddling. Guys, this is the first time they've done this since Henry came back from the facility. The facility. I don't know what to call it. It's not a hospital because that sounds dramatic for me. But they're like cuddling. I'll send a picture. Follow. I think it's Henry, Creighton, and Lucy, all underscores. I have no idea. Just go to my Instagram. But yeah, I met a couple, like if you want to people watch, dude, or you want to like learn, like listen to some people, some crazy people, go do audience work for a day. I haven't done audience work. I did audience work, I don't know, like 15 years ago when I first moved here, and I swore I'd never do it again because it was so fucking sketchy. It was for American Gladiator, and the pay is way more now, and I think they now have like rights have been implemented. So like back then I think it was just like a fucking free for all, because like the pay is way more now and we're treated a lot better. But it like American Gladiator, it was like 9 hours and you got like $60 cash at the end of the night. And I just moved to LA. So I was like needing money, And so it's $60 cash was like, cool, I'll do that. And maybe it wasn't 9 hours, but it was so long. And then you weren't allowed to leave your seat. They didn't feed you and you weren't allowed to leave your seat. So I can't remember exactly, but I know I got stuck sitting next to this crazy woman for hours. And I think about her often. I wonder, like, she was like around my age. So like a young woman. And she like, I don't know, she had like a crazy boyfriend in jail or some shit. And this is like how she was making her money, but just like everything she was saying, I was like, oh, you ought to rethink some things. Cause like there were things that she was doing to like perpetuate her situation, but I'm sitting next to her doing audience work. So I'm like, who the fuck am I to judge? And who the fuck is anybody to judge? You know what I mean? Like you never know what people are doing. Um, I'm doing it so I can tell jokes at night and continue to write my next book, work on my podcast, take care of my cat, not have to deal with some bonehead that I bartend with that refuses to help you clean the bar and milks the clock for 2 or 3 hours after you leave. And so he can make most of the money. Yeah, I can't do that anymore or work at a bar where you have to put up with like a manager who's super passive aggressive or just people you work with are mad all the time, but they just have their own, like, it's just such a like toxic situation. Most workplaces, I think, because humans are, not toxic, but humans are. But if you want to do some people pleasing, if you want to do some people watching, dude, audience work. I sat with this, he was little because I'm really tall, but this older Asian man yesterday. And he was so sweet, but then at the end I was like, oh, he might be crazy. Okay. So we were talking for a while and he was really, really sweet. And he was probably like 70, maybe not. I don't know ages. Like everyone is, there's like, it's like 30-year gaps. You know what I mean? Like I have like child, and now that extends to like 24. I had a show last night and there were like two 24-year-olds in the audience and they were like, oh, hey. And I was like, well, you guys are children. Like, how are you allowed to drink legally? And they were like, we're 24. I'm like, you look like you're 8. But I think that's just because that's just what happens when you age, baby. It's father time. But this guy we were talking, he had this Mandalorian mask on, and I was like, oh, I love your mask. And he was like, oh, my bro. And I mean, now looking back, it was a little bit of I mean, I do this too. I do a left turn, drop bombs on people. But he was like, oh, my brother made it in the pandemic. He was a nurse. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. And he's like, he's dead. I was like, oh, God. And then the show starts. So, like, we have to be like, cool, let's watch. We can't talk now. So, in between the next show, I was like, I'm so sorry about your brother. He goes, yeah, he died of COVID. And I was like, oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry. And it was wild. He was like, he died of COVID. Hear this scenario. Okay. He was overweight, but an overweight nurse who did not get vaccinated. And they only knew he had COVID because they tested his, I was going to say corpse, Jesus, but that's such an inhumane way of saying that when you're talking about someone who died, but tested the corpse, for lack of a better word, the dead body, which one's better? They tested it and it had COVID. And they were like, well, it's not like there were no other issues. They're like, but it was like that had to have been. So that, like, he was like, there's so many deaths like that where they can't like absolutely say that that's what killed him. So they don't even add those deaths to like the numbers. I mean, this is what this guy was saying. Please don't at me. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I can't argue about this anymore. I will get into that after I finish the story. But he was like, yeah, he just went to bed one night and died. That was that. That was all she wrote. He did not wake up again. And when they tested the body, he had COVID. And it was around the Delta variant time and, the current times, and he wasn't vaccinated. And I was like, that is really fucking sad. And he was like, and the guy was like, yeah, I wasn't vaccinated either. And that's what got me and my family to get vaccinated. And it's just so silly. I know that that's a terrible word to use, but it's just like so many people are dying because some propaganda is being pushed, or like the freedoms, or like whatever the fuck people like. It's just, and I don't want to say silly because I know that that's like such an insensitive word to use, but like the guy was like, I was like, he's like, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I had all the information and the research. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what's your background? Like, thinking he was going to, because he was like, I should be able to choose which vaccination I can have. And I guess I didn't want to get Johnson and Johnson. I mean, now everyone really makes fun of it, but just something about it kind of creeped me out. And I wanted Pfizer because that is what I had read a bunch about long haul COVID, and that was helping symptoms. I wanted, but then if Moderna was the one that was available, I was like, you know what? I just want to get vaccinated. And so when someone says something like, oh, I just wanted to double check, make sure all, just double check the science and the research. I used to assume that you had a background in something that would give you qualifications to make that sort of decision. And so I was like, oh, what's your background? He's like, oh, I worked at Disneyland for a long time. And I also was in retail. And now I'm unemployed and I'm just, figuring out my life. And I'm like, yeah, you probably for sure should be able to read scientific statistics and documents and things. I don't even know what they're called, but it's just so mind-boggling. Silly is such a terrible word because I know people who have family that are very sick right now who aren't vaccinated, and it's such an awful feeling, because like you're pissed off at them, but you're also really fucking scared, and it's just all so senseless and avoidable. Like I have a friend who is a conservative comedian. His views are wild, man. And we don't really talk politics much because we both know that like we just don't agree, and we just don't agree. But he has a pretty funny joke about it, but about the vaccines, and he's just like, you know what, I think more people would get them if the left wasn't being so creepy about them. Like, and he's not wrong, where it's like, get the vaccine, we'll give you a donut, we'll give you $1 million. Like, it is, I agree with that, where it's just like they've never really done that before. And maybe not, I don't know, I wasn't around when the measles and the polio vaccine came, like, first rolled out. We just got that shit before we went to school. But the conservative comedian, he was like, yeah, I believe in science. I go to the doctor. It's the same people that are telling me to get a vaccine. Like, so it's just senseless. So I don't care. The point of what I was going to say is I can't argue about it anymore. I can't. I believe a couple of weeks ago, time isn't really real anymore, but a few weeks ago, we got a notification from the scientists that we will probably see the apocalypse in our lifetime. And I am sitting in Los Angeles, California on September 1st, and it is 72 degrees outside. Now, if you are not from Los Angeles, California, or you don't live here, you are like, yeah, it's September, fall's coming. No, this is usually when it is hell hot for us, like hell hot, like where I shouldn't be able to record mid-afternoon in my closet without 9 fans shining on me, let alone in a sweater. Like, and half the country's on fire. There's other climate shit going on, the Hurricane Ida. Like, I can't argue with these people anymore. I can't do it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to write out the apocalypse in peace. I'm going to write out the apocalypse being as kind as I can, working as hard as I can. Is someone who doesn't agree with me, wants to have like an intelligent conversation or like actually talk about facts and not just like the government's doing this and then blame Joe Biden, who literally became president like 8 minutes ago, and people are now blaming him for everything that's happening. It's like, no, he inherited a bunch of shit. And I'm not even talking about just Trump, like the stuff that's happening in Iraq and Afghanistan, not Iraq. I don't know. I said maybe but like all this stuff that's happening in the Middle East is, oh my God, now I feel like I'm sounding really stupid, but it's like not just like even Biden said, he goes, this isn't a partisan thing. Like, this is 4 presidents have had this, have been dealing with this, 2 Republican, 2. It's just, I can't argue anymore. I can't do it. Like, you either believe in science or you don't. You either believe that trans rights are human rights, women should have the right to choose, Black Lives Matter, all the shit that's on the right side of history, or you don't. And I can't do it anymore for my mental health because I think I'm going to slit someone's throat. I think that next time I have a fight with someone, I am like overreacting or underreacting to everything. And so I feel like that's where someone is right before they're about to just look someone in the eye, pull out a blade and just cut their throat open and watch them bleed out. That's so creepy to say, but I can't argue anymore. I bartended this event this last weekend. I'll tell you about it because I met the coolest dude in the world. But this girl who was bartending, her name was Bambi. It's so hard to hear. I mean, look, I don't I really do my best not to judge people, really do my best, but it's hard not to hear a tiny, pretty blonde girl go, "Hi, I'm Bambi," and not be like, not change the expression in your face. It's really hard. She seemed really sweet. We had different bars. Like there was a big bar and I bartended at a little bar. And so I didn't see her all day. And then when I was done, I went over to, give them my tips and like help them clean up because my bar was all cleaned up. And we all had drinks, like I had a couple shots of tequila and there, everybody had like, but like everyone was like, oh, we've had a couple shots of tequila in a 12-hour period of bartending. This bitch was hammered. And she's just like, I just don't even know. And then there's this other girl who is counting all the tips. She was really cool, not friendly, very cool, not friendly at all. She said something cool. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And she just like looked me up and down. Like when I met her, I was like, hi, I'm Kim. And she just looked me up and down and she was like, Miley, like rolled her eyes at me. But like she had like a cool presence, but she was not nice, not a nice person, not friendly at all. But so the Bambi was like hammered and she's like, and she was whispering to me and she goes, I think that they're going to try and fuck us on our tips. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I don't know. I just look at that bitch and I know she's pocketing ones. I'm like, the girl who's in counting money sprawled out in front of everyone, like in the middle of everyone, if she wants to steal $20 to $40 from us or $100, you got to admire her audacity. You know what I mean? Because like she is like sprawled out counting money. She's wearing nothing. Like she has like booty shorts and a sports bra on. There's nowhere for her to stash it. She doesn't have tits really. So it's not like she can like put it in there without it being like lumpy. You know what I mean? Like I was like, Bambi, girl, they're not stealing from us. And she's like, I don't know. And she can't seem to like get it together. And all of us, and when there's that one drunk person in a situation where everyone like doesn't really know each other, so they can't be like, bitch, you're hammered. So we're all just trying to be polite, but we're all kind of giving. This girl but tried to steal my bag like 8 times. Not steal. She just kept picking it up and walking away. And I'm like, girl, that's my backpack. And she's like, oh shit, it looks like my backpack. I'm like, it's not. You can open it up. That's mine. And she goes, oh, it's not my backpack. And I'm like, you're really, really pushing. Like you're really solidifying the Bambi fucking stereotype. Like you need to, which may be mean. I don't care. But like, so she kept stealing my backpack. And then we were just like standing there waiting for like next directions. And I go, was this a vaccinated only event? Cause it was a huge fucking party, right? Like it was like a big charity event, some guy's birthday charity event / biggest pizza party in the world or in history. I don't know. The guy was trying to break the world record of having the most people eating pizza in one place at the same time. Yeah, they've tracked that and there was already a record for that. There are people that's job was to track and document that. And he decided to make his birthday party the event that would break that record. So fucking weird, right? And I was, it was just a lot of people that were there. So I was just like, is this a vaccinated only event? And she goes, no, because I'm not vaccinated. And I was like, of course you're fucking not vaccinated, you dumb fuck. Of course you're not. And the anti-vaxxers are like ready to argue because they probably have had to argue a lot the last couple of months. And none of their arguments make any sense. Make it make sense. But she like looked at me and she goes, and I'm not going to argue with you about it. Like, it's my body. It's my choice. And I'm going to not get vaccinated if I don't want to be vaccinated. And I don't want to be vaccinated. And I was like, I don't care. I can't care anymore. I can't. I care about people I love. I don't not care about people I don't love. That sounds fucked up. This is usually around minute 29, 30 is usually when I have like a panic that I'm fucking up. And I'm like, oh, is this going to get me in trouble one day? But like that broad, I'm like, I can't argue with you. You don't even, I would be shocked if you knew simple arithmetic. I'd be shocked if you knew what the word arithmetic meant, So like, I'm like, telling you why you should get vaccinated would be an exercise in futility. Is that the word futility? I think so. I don't know. But so I'm going to go back to the audience member from yesterday because it was kind of a cool lesson. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's kind of a cool thing that happened. But this event, okay, which one do I want to do first? I'll do audience member, and then I'll tell you the guy I met at the event. I sort of jump back and forth, and I got to pee again. I'm recording this voiceover job. I'm hoping it's a job. I think it went from audition to they want to book you, but I'm clicking a lot, which means my mouth is dry, and I've drank like a gallon of water today, and I am having to pee every 3 minutes, which actually I think it's good for me because I haven't. That's another thing that I've been lacking in my last like week or so of just being stressed out. I'm trying to be really nice to myself about this, and maybe this is a reminder for you. I got a lot going on, and I've kind of dropped the ball on keeping up my apartment clean. And I'm just really tired. And yeah, I'm just like, and I'm not drinking enough water. I missed my Spanish lesson 2 days ago. I missed my meditation yesterday. Like, I'm like, you're really fucking up, Kim Kral. And I'm like, well, your cat was in the hospital for 4 days. He's been, in and out of pretty major tests, and it's been really fucking scary. And he's been panting, he's been panicking, he's been hiding, he's been, peeing out of his butt. Sorry, gross. I'm not sorry. And then I'm also working, like some days 12 hours, some days no hours, some day, I had to drive 2 hours to get a COVID test the other day for a job. So I'm just like, and these all sound, these aren't real problems. These are just like, oh, be nice to yourself. You got a lot going on. And on top of that, even though they have a lot going on, it's also like we've had almost 2 years of stagnantism, being stagnant. That's right. I make fun of Bambi for not knowing what arithmetic is, and I'm like stagnantism. But we've been stagnant almost for 2 years. So it's kind of a shock to the system to get out and around people and what you should do and what you know what I mean? Like, so it's if you're like me and you're kind of dropping the ball in a couple of areas, this is my reminder to you and to myself to just be nice. Dude, let's just ride out the apocalypse. Just being nice. Ride out the apocalypse, being kind and working hard. Because I don't know, man. It seems it's a little dreary outside. There's another school shooting today. I haven't had time to look into that, and I don't know if I will. I want to. I like being informed in what's going on in the world. It just sometimes feels overwhelming. And when you have now 180 text messages on your text and countless emails, you're just like, I don't know if I can hear more bad news. Not that the texts are bad news. I don't know, man. So the audience member yesterday, we both were, I will be on Jay Leno's game show at some point in the next 6 months. Not actually on the game show. I'm one of the audience participants. Unfortunately, I wish I could be, but I can't because I was on Joey Fatone's game show like 4 months ago, and this game show seems way more fun. But I digress. But so we had to get there really early. We had to get there at 7:30 in the morning with all the other contestants. And it's in Pacoima, which is a wild place hidden in Los Angeles. Just a wild, wild place. A lot of lifted trucks and dirt front yards. Reminds me of many places in Colorado. We had to be there early. And as I was driving on the freeway, slowly it started, and GPS was like, oh, it'll take you 10 minutes to get here, 15 minutes. So I left with a half hour in time, whatever. And all of a sudden there was 3 or 4 cars flipped over on the freeway at like 6 a.m., which means that someone was being fucking reckless. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't look into it, and maybe I'm making assumptions, but I'm just going to say this for the masses, and this is what I full-heartedly believe. There is no reason to be driving that crazily. None. There are two reasons to be driving like a fucking maniac. 2. 1, you're giving birth or someone in your vehicle is giving birth and you're trying to get to the fucking hospital. 2, someone, you or someone else in your vehicle has been stabbed, shot, or some other mortal wound and you're trying to get to the hospital. Those are literally the only time. You being 5 minutes late to wherever you're supposed to be or 25 minutes late is not worth fucking killing someone. Like 6 a.m., 4 cars. Sorry, Henry, I'm yelling and he keeps looking at me like, calm down. Aren't you wanting to ride this apocalypse out? That's going to be the name of this episode. So I feel like I need to say it a lot. But it's just like, nothing is worth that. And like, I don't know if anybody died, but I do know that I was 30 minutes late to the show and I just missed when it got really bad. Like I got off the freeway, but I guess people were getting off on ramps because they weren't able to get off of the freeway. I don't know if getting off on an on ramp is a good idea. It's very dangerous, but I don't know, man, the world's ending. Who cares, you know? But so like, I just text the guy and was like, hey, there's some weird traffic happening. I'll get there as soon as I can. GPS says 10 minutes. I know I'm already like 7 minutes late or whatever it was. And he was like, that's fine. I know there's a big accident. I was like, cool. So I'm sitting there with this guy later in the day and we were talking about the accident and he was like, oh my God, I was like an hour and a half late. Like I couldn't. And I was like, oh, you got in it. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I had so much anxiety. I was so freaked out. And I was like, yeah, I used to be that way. Like I used to be that way, but I was like, you know, what's the worst that's going to happen? I get here and they send me home. And he goes, yeah, honestly, I was almost hoping they would send me home because I was so fucking freaked out by how late I was that like, I was just, I needed to go home. And he was sitting like 3 or 4 over. And I was just like, you know, I used to have that kind of anxiety with being late, like visceral. I thought if I was late, I would die. Like I thought like that's how much I reacted to it. And it's because my father, if you weren't 10 minutes early, he would be like, you should have died to get here. Like, it was like, he was like, I don't even want you to be my daughter anymore. Like, it was like life and death if you weren't 10 minutes early. And if you weren't 10 minutes early, wherever you were going that day or meeting that day or whatever you were doing that you were meeting him for, he would be passive aggressively angry at you all day, no matter how low the stakes. Like if it was like, hey, we're just like, what, like you're coming to, I mean, this was, he stopped doing it later in life because he knew that I was days away from just completely cutting him out. He wasn't wrong. I completely cut him out, but for other reasons, not the weird late stuff. But so because of that, I was raised with that at such a young age that if you're not 10 minutes late, you're late, or 10 minutes early, you're really, really late and you don't even deserve to exist. And I know that sounds dramatic, but that's how dramatic he made it. Like it was like, you don't deserve to be here. And I grew up, and up until like maybe a couple of years ago, being late felt like I was going to die. Whoever I was meeting was never going to speak to me again. I was telling this guy, and he goes, oh my God, he's like, my parents, you know, he was like, they did the best they could, but they had certain things like that where being late was like the worst thing you could possibly do. And they treated it as such. And I was just like, yeah, man, I don't know. I had it too. And I had to recognize that that was a trigger, that when I was 5 minutes late somewhere, it was not like my reaction to it was historical. That's why it was so hysterical. I say that a lot. Like if it's historical, it's hysterical. So me being that late and that reactionary to it had something to do with something that had to have happened. So I started looking into it and it was like, oh, I'm triggered because I was treated terribly if I was late. I mean, like almost borderline abusive if you were late, right? Probably, yeah, it's abusive, just emotional abuse, verbal abuse, not like he didn't hit me or anything, but I was like, I had to work on that trigger. And he goes, wow, I think I should. And have you ever looked at someone and told them something and you feel that they really heard you and that something that you said shifted their whole perspective? It does. I don't think it happens often to humans. But I said that, I was like, man, you can let that go now. Like, look at you. He won his portion of the game show. It was like, you won. You're sitting here. we're having this conversation. You're going to get home. You're safe. You're alive. It's not 112 degrees outside. I think you can just let that late stuff go. And what was the worst that was going to happen? You get here and they tell you to go home. You have the whole day off. And he was like, and you could tell that I shifted something. And then after we signed out later that day, later yesterday, we signed out and I feel really bad because it took me a minute to understand what was happening. And then I gave him like a weird, because I'm weird now, right? I don't know how to be around humans. I don't, we've been alone for so long. I'm just weird now. And so as I was walking to my car, I hear, "Hey, Kim. And I turn around and that guy's standing in line waiting to check out. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I just want to thank you for your talk today. Thank you for giving me that. And I just stared at him because it took a minute for me to register what the fuck he was talking about. Because I talked to the old Asian guy for a really, really long time about his dead brother. So I was like, what conversation? And I was like, oh. And I said, no problem, man. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck with that. I mean, I guess that works, but I was like, good luck. And then we just stared and I got in my car and then I beat myself up all the way home for not saying what I thought should have been the perfect follow-up to whatever the fuck I gave him. And that is going full circle of taking my own advice of just like, gotta let that go, man. Gotta just fucking let it all go. None of it matters. None of this matters. I mean, like everything we're seeing, there is a massive possibility we are going to see in days. And I'm not like a conspiracy theorist who has like a go bag or like, I think the end of days are coming and we all should get a bunker. I don't think that, but I do think that the herd is thinning out because we've treated this planet horribly for a very long time. And if you think I'm being dramatic, walk outside anywhere in any city and see all of the trash on the ground. We can't do the simplest thing of just picking up after ourselves. What? Like what? Like I have these sticks that pick up trash, and I got them before COVID. And when I go hiking, I would just bring them on the hike, and I would pick up the trash on the hike. There shouldn't be that much trash on the hike. I've never been on a beautiful mountain, beautiful Griffith Observatory. Never been on there and had a candy bar for some reason, and then ate the candy bar and then just chucked it on the ground. But there are humans among us that is what they do. That is what they do. So I don't want to sound like I'm some conspiracy theorist in today's bullshit stuff, but I am going to tell you, if we don't start turning this ship around, planet's going to kick us off in our lifetime. Like if we don't start fucking doing something and truly making a difference. And also like, Times Square a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago was like, hey, in order to help, in order to help with power conservation and help with the blackouts, individuals should turn off their air when they can, even though it was summer, it was super fucking hot. They're like, they should turn off their air when they can. And, everyone was like, but Times Square is allowed to be full blown, all the lights all the time. And it's like, it's not just, it has to be on the bigger guy now. The smaller guy, a lot of us are doing what we can, but it has to be. So I should take my own advice. And I don't think I was like, what, man, fuck off. Like I didn't say anything like that. I just said, oh, of course, man, have a good night. Good luck. So I can let that go too. But I don't know. It helped that guy. So maybe if someone else needs to hear it, I needed to hear it a long time ago too. None of this matters. It always works out. It always works out. And if it doesn't, it will, like that is a thing that I know more than I think almost anything in my life. That John Lennon said it, and I might quote it every single episode, but it will always be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. And I know that with my dad, a relationship that I thought I would never, ever have had some sort of amends or a happy ending. Gross. That's a gross thing to say when your dad sexually abused you. Sorry, easy joke. I don't know if it's an easy joke, but it made me laugh. And if it didn't make you laugh, you probably weren't abused. And just this is when you plug your ears during that. But if you were abused, you probably did laugh. But it's just so it's like you can just let that shit go. It'll always work out. And if it hasn't yet, it's not the end, So I worked this party on Sunday. Time isn't real. I don't know what day of the week it is. On Sunday, like I said, and okay, so Steve Aoki, the DJ, Is that what he's called? It just DJs are so weird to me. Isn't there like two famous DJs and then there's also like 500 billion people who want to be a DJ? Maybe that's not real. But like there's just so many DJs. Or not a lot. There's like I know one famous DJ. To be fair, I only know that famous DJ because there was a guy who used to come into Big Wangs who looked like him, and I didn't know that, but a lot of people would go up to this guy and be like, "Oh my god, are you Steve Aoki or Aoki?" And he's like, "No, but I get that all the time." And then finally one day I was like, "Yo, who's Steve Aoki?" And then he pulled up a picture and I was like, "You kind of look like him." He goes, "I know I do." I mean, they like, and then I saw the guy in person, Steve Aoki, the other day, and I was like, "Oh yeah, they for sure look the same, not the same, but similar, right?" Um, so he was there, and then Lil Wayne too. So two pretty big celebrities. I didn't see Lil Wayne. I also was shocked that Lil Wayne is still a thing. Lil Wayne was like super popular when I was like 22 and younger, I think. I don't know, but there was really young kids there. It was an influencer event too. The world's biggest pizza party with a charity, which is cool. The charity was the guy who it was his birthday. He has a charity where he gives full backpacks to homeless people. So a cool charity. And then there was just a bunch of influencers there. There was one girl who was like the sweetest thing ever. And she kept coming up to my bar and she was just so sweet and so sweet and nice. And then she's like, let's get each other's Instagram. And I was like, yeah. And then I followed her. I was like, girl, you have 200,000 followers. She goes, yeah, I'm an influencer. And I was like, what world? It's just so funny, but she was so sweet. And then another woman came up and was asking to take pictures of the tequila I had. I had LeBron James's tequila that I was serving, Lobos. I think I was a little too vocal about how I didn't think it was very good, and then I realized I was like the brand person for it. I mean, it just like it's fine if you want to shoot it or put it in a drink, but it's just not like Casamigos, man. Casamigos Reposada is just the best sipping tequila. I can't really drink that stuff anymore. I had 3 shots of tequila on Sunday over the course of like 12 hours, and I was dead on Monday, dead. And I only had like 4 things I needed to get done, and I got them all done, but I was just like dead. And it's my body's just different. I did get a bunch of the blood results back from the doctor, and we have a follow-up in a couple of weeks. Um, and I think I go to a lung specialist soon to figure out what's going on. But the doctor basically was just like, the inhaler is helping. Keep using the inhaler. We don't know much. Just got to make sure that you don't have permanent damage. And if you don't have permanent damage, then it's just probably the COVID still working its way through your body. It's been 9 months. He also said that a lot of people with long-term damage are not like not permanent damage, but have long-term COVID symptoms. It usually lets up between 6 to 12 months, which is a long ass time, but I'm still hopeful and I'm still, yeah, I'm still plugging away, still swimming, baby, baby. Um, so these two like celebrities are, oh yeah, so this woman came out to take a picture of the tequila and she was like, can I just take a couple of pictures of the bottle? And a lot of people, photographers and stuff, were doing that too. So I was bringing it up and they were asking if they could take pictures of me pouring the tequila. I probably would have worn more lipstick had I known I didn't have to wear a mask outside and I was gonna be photographed all day, but that's fine. I don't picture that I will be in many of the photographs, but so she comes up and she's like, I don't want to drink though. I just wanted to take a picture. And I was like, okay, like I don't care. I don't care. But she was like, yeah, I am a, and then she leans in and goes, I'm famous. I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, yeah, I'm kind of a big deal. So I was just gonna like promote the tequila. And I was like, you know what famous people don't do? Tell you how famous they are. Like, no real famous person I've ever met been like, I'm super famous. Leonardo DiCaprio goes to a bar, sits in the back, tips well, never once goes, I deserve the best seat in the house. Like, it's just so, I know a lot of people have waited on him. Same Brad Pitt. But like the non-famous people feel the need to constantly be like, I'm famous. Do you not know I'm famous? Famous. I'm not famous, and I tell people I'm famous all the time, so I'm guilty of it as well. So I'm bartending next to. There's another booth next to me, sitting next to me, and it's this family, and it looks like it's a beer company, and I'm gonna spell it for you because I want you to look it up. They are not paying me to do this, so don't I mean, I guess you wouldn't care if I was getting paid to do it, but this is just like from my own, like, dude, you got to check this out. So they were like, they got there early and they had set up. So it was just a big beer company, and it was like Sierra, Ceria, Syrian. Um, Syria sounds a little scary, but I asked them 400 times how to pronounce it, and they were like, and other people did, and it's lost on me. But it's spelled Ceria Brewing. So look it up after I'm done. So, or look it up now if you can multitask. I just can't. So I'm sitting here next to this family, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, we got here early and set up." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And somehow it came out, they were like, "Yeah, we're from Colorado." And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm from Colorado." And they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I've lived here for a long time." So and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we're from Arvada, I think." They're like, "Yeah, we live in Arvada. We're flying out tomorrow. We're just here to promote our beer." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So it's and the guy, and they were like, "Yeah, it's a cannabis infused beer. So it's non-alcoholic, but it's got one has 5 milligrams of THC and cannabis, and then the other one has 10 milligrams of THC and cannabis. So there is THC, CBD. So THC and CBD in both beers. And I was like, oh, that's wild. And they're like, yeah, that's going to be the thing of the future. A lot of people are trying to learn how to brew beer with cannabis, because it isn't, you can have a beer and not get fucked up, but you can have a little nice high. It's like, I was like, oh, and I'm learning about their product or whatever. And then the mom comes over and she goes, I don't know if you know this. Do you know Blue Moon? And I was like, yeah, I know Blue Moon. She goes, my husband invented Blue Moon. What? I was bartending next to the family that invented fucking Blue Moon. Like, that's like one of the biggest beers in the world, right? And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, he invented it. And I was like, what? And people, when I told this story recently, they're like, the guy who invented Blue Moon is bartending. He was not bartending. They had a booth next to where I was bartending. Also, that's a real judgy thing to say about bartenders. He was bartending. Yeah, I wrote a book and I'm bartending. Buy my book. So buy my book. So I asked him, I was like, your wife told me you created Blue Moon. And he goes, oh yeah, yeah. And he was like the sweetest dude, probably like in his mid 50s. And they looked so young, but the only reason why I say mid 50s is because their daughter was like 30. So like he was probably like early 50s, but looked so young. And I was like, how in the fuck did that come about? Right. And he goes, well, so basically it's just such a cool fucking story. So he worked for Coors, and then Coors sent him overseas to Belgium to learn how to brew beer. And so he learned everything there is about beer and how to brew it. And they call him the beer doctor. And then he came back, and in like 95, 97, in that era, I can't remember exactly the year, but in that era, he started to brew. He brewed Blue Moon. He created Blue Moon, had the orange slice, had the like cup, like, the iconic cup. And how Blue Moon got its name is he showed it to someone and they tasted it and they're like, wow, a beer like that comes around once in a blue moon. And they like said it like, ooh, like more, more casual. And he was like, Blue Moon. And then he looked it up, saw it wasn't taken, patented. And then he was like, it was a good 10 years before anyone really liked it. Because it was like, it was the first of its kind. It was the first, many have tried to implement it or replicate it over the years, but and he said it took about 10 years. And he goes, and now, the rest is, I'm like, dude, that's the most famous beer in the world. Like, besides like Bud Light and shit. But like, that's like, that's in every part of the world. And he's like, yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, it is in every country in the world. Like, that's wild. And why are you so calm about it? And they were laughing and we had a good day. And they gave me a big backpack full of IPA cannabis beers that have 10 milligrams of each. I'm going to try one maybe tomorrow night. I don't another thing about this whole, you don't know what your next day is going to be like. You probably shouldn't have your first THC. I think he's like, it's not a big high, but I'm like, I don't really get high. So I don't know how it'll affect me. I did have the 5 milligram one while I was bartending, and I just relaxed. I felt fine. It was just like, oh, I wasn't stressed out. And I don't know if I would have been stressed out, but I just wasn't. But so cool. And he was like, yeah, he wrote a book. I think it's called The Beer Doctor. Fuck, I should have written it down. But he's like, yeah, it's basically how to start like start from scratch and making your own beer and how to get it all the way to distributing it to either a bar or getting a major company like Coors, which bought Blue Moon from him. So, and he was explaining to me about how like this is the time to start brewing cannabis beer because it's not federally legal. But as soon as it's federally legal, these big companies are going to be able to produce their own cannabis beer. And if you have an established one, this is just free advice this dude gave me that I'll give to you. He's like, if you have established one, Budweiser will come in and give you like if it's good, they'll give you a $20 million check, maybe a $90 million check. He's like, it depends. I'm like, how much did fucking Budweiser give you? But you can't ask that kind of question to a stranger. I wish I had, but like, I mean, and now, but I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, it's like two things took place in that moment. One, it's so cool to hear the story of a dream coming true. Because the daughter was like, oh yeah, I grew up with Blue Moon in our house. Like, it's just like, that's just been around. That's, I've known it when it wasn't anything, when it was just a dream, right? And this guy was like, yeah, literally no one would give me the time of day for 10 years. It was just like, I just believed in this beer and I kept going and I kept going. And now it's fucking Blue Moon. And now he has this other venture where he's sitting in this billionaire's backyard giving out his cannabis beer to Lil Wayne. I was fucking blown away. I was literally like, can I get your autograph? That's weird. We all do follow each other on Instagram and we took a picture of the four of us. So I might put it in my story. I will also put it in my story, a couple of pictures of this so you can look up the brand because it is, I don't know, it's just a cool story to hear like, oh, dreams do come true. You just have to perseverance, work hard, be kind. There was another thing that I learned in that moment, but I can't remember what it was right now because my brain is mush. I did learn that while I was bartending. Haven't bartended since I got COVID, like really bartended, like where lots of people were coming up in multiple. I used to be able to take like a 10 drink order and line them all up and make all the drinks and give them to the right people. And then remember I worked at a nightclub where I would remember hundreds of people coming in and being like, oh, you got the gin and tonic, you got the Bombay, you got the fucking Woodward Reserve. I don't know. But I was able to like do that and remember it. And I know that part of it is a muscle, but I also know that there are naysayers out there who, there are people with my long haul COVID symptoms that they're like, well, that would have happened if this. And it's like, you know what? I know my body. I have not bartended for a couple of years and gone back to bartending. And it's like riding a bike. So I know my body. I know my brain. So that is a new thing with my brain, is that it wasn't as sharp as it was before. But I'm also told by the doctor that is hopefully going to let up within a year. So, we're in the home stretch of the year. But what was the other lesson I learned from that? I don't know. It was just like, be cool, man. They were so nice. So check out their Instagram, check out their product. CERIA Brewing, all one word, on Facebook or Instagram. But yeah, it was really cool. And I'll post some pictures of it because I think, just like, I don't know, when there's good people that you just want good things to happen to them. Like, you know what I like at that family, I was just like, man, I really hope you get another home run. You're good humans. And I don't know, good humans deserve some wins now. That's it. We should be giving some wins to the good humans because, seems like the bad ones are, highlighted more and more these days. And if I'm right and the world's going to end in a couple of years, we might as well start being nice to each other and start, letting the good guy pull ahead a little bit. Because maybe if we let the good guy pull ahead a little bit, we might be able to turn this thing around. God, that's a little bit deep, but I think that's going to be the episode, guys. I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about. I did want to tell you that I Walking Dead is back, which is like Christmas for me, right? I love that show so much. I love that a little over a year ago, I had no idea about this show at all. And now I've watched it 3 times in its entirety. To be fair, I had COVID in one of those times, 1.5 of those times. But so I watched the season premiere and I was like, I don't know what at all is happening. And that's not weird for me. Like before I had brain fog, COVID brain frog. I could rewatch many things and not really fully remember how it went down. Right. Like that's not, but not this bad, not to this level where I'm like, I don't even know who that is. Like, what is that? Maggie came back. Like, didn't know any at all. And so I was like, oh, I guess I probably should just go back and rewatch the last season, which is fine because I don't, most people I know long stopped watching The Walking Dead. So no one's going to give me spoilers. And also, I actively was able to not learn anything about The Walking Dead for like 11 years longer. And so I got really burpy and whatever. But so what am I saying? Oh, right. It's the brain frog. I'm going to call it that. Brain frog. Brian's frog. Those of you who've listened for a long time, you know that I call my brain Brian. And when I do stupid shit or like it like talks to me, like, when your brain is like, no one likes you. Man, you really didn't do good enough. Or like yesterday when I was like, you should have been nicer to that guy who said thank you to you. You didn't like, drop to your knees and suck his dick because he said thank you. Just kidding about the dick sucking thing. But whoo, that came out of nowhere. But so Brian is the one who's like, you really blew that. So so we're gonna call it Brian's frog when I have brain frog. So I was like, I guess I'll just rewatch the last season so I can kind of remember what's happening. So then I put on the season premiere of the last season and had no idea. So then I was like, all right, I don't want to watch Rick die again because I still think about that. I mean, he didn't die. We all know he's coming back for the Rick Grimes movies, but it's not happening soon enough. I love Rick Grimes. The guy who lived in Seattle made fun of him. That is when I should have known that would have never panned out, that nothing would have ever worked out between me and Seattle because he said Rick Grimes was a loser. I was like, you wish you could be half the man that Rick Grimes is. And I was right. So I started watching like the last couple episodes of season 9. I think we're in season 11. I don't know. So a season and a half ago, I started watching it, and I forgot that I watched season 10 and the end of season 9 while I was really sick. It's like watching a brand new show. I don't know. I like every time I'm like, I don't remember this at all. And normally when I watch a movie that I don't remember, because that's just how my brain works, I at least remember, like, if I see something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That did happen. Oh yeah, I forgot that guy died. Literally nothing. I'm like, oh my God, I don't remember this at all. What? That guy died? They killed Sadiq? Which, spoiler, that was like 2 seasons ago if you're not all the way caught up. And it's a really bummer of a death that I feel like they just sort of brush over. He was a very significant character that really helped everyone, like helped Rick with the transition of losing Carl. And then Sadiq just dies and everyone's just like, well, it's business as usual. Like everyone dies in Alexandria because it's the brave new world. I just thought that was interesting. So if you've had COVID and you're still finding yourself and you have long haul COVID and you're listening to this, no, you're not alone. I have really bad brain fog, if you don't remember what we just talked about. That's the show. I want to say that I am one lucky broad. I'm one lucky broad that, though it's kind of a hustle and it's really, really scary, it seems to be working out that I am, just hustling to make a living. So keep sending me good vibes if you are. And if you want to help support my new venture, you can support the podcast on Patreon. We have bonus episodes that I promise I already have them recorded. I will have them up and going by tonight. So there's bonus episodes. There's a 2 in August. I have a 3rd one for September already. So we will get that out by tonight. And you can get that. You can get the bonus episodes for just $3 a month. And then each little tier has some fun things on it that I will be sending out. And so if you want to help support my new venture or just the podcast in general, go to patreon.com/Kim Kral, KYMKRAL, or buy my book, Confessions of a Recovering Party Girl. Every time someone reads it, I hear some amazing shit. Lots of people love it. So, I mean, I'm one lucky broad because that's right. You put something that you pour your heart and soul in, and you're terrified of putting yourself out there. And there was a one broad in the beginning who had some not negative things to say, but just like nitpicky shit where I was like, girl, where's your book? Exactly. Fuck off. Fuck off. But other than that, everyone it's just been a lot of reviews that are people I don't know. Also, if you've read the book and you like it, please leave me a review on Amazon. It makes Amazon push the book for other people. And I would love that. So I'm one lucky broad that, so far, so good on hustling to make a living so I can continue pursuing my dreams. And I'm one lucky broad that my booty bear is home, safe, and so far seems to be recovering greatly. goodly, good, fine, welly. We will find out in 3 weeks about his numbers and then again in 2 months after that. So send all the love and prayers you can to my booty bear because I need this cat to live forever. I just do. I need it. I need it. I need it. And I know that's unrealistic, but I still have some hope about it. Okay. I think that's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you want to send me a poop scoop or why you're one lucky broad or any questions you may have, KYMKRALSPACE at gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram, share, subscribe, rate, review. If you haven't given me a rating too, please give me a rating here because it really helps the podcast. Just any ways you guys want to, throw a little love my way, it means a lot. And if I haven't responded to your DM yet, I know I have a billion DMs and it's on the list for today, but now the text messages are 190. 190. I'm going to do my best. That's all we can ask of anybody, right? So be cool to yourself. Be nice. Like I said, the name of this episode is going to be this. Just ride the apocalypse out and be kind. Work hard, be kind, be grateful. All right, everyone. Hope you're having a good week. Stay safe. Talk to you soon. Bye.